Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome back to Age of Fear 2 with me, Cornish-Knight. I know it's been a few days since I've put up a video. I've been really quite badly sick, and as such I haven't had time to do a lot of stuff. I was in no state to do any recording, and this brings me to my next topic. With the holiday season quickly approaching us, it's got to limit how many videos I can produce for the viewers, because obviously it's the holidays, I have responsibilities, so probably in all likelihood from this day onwards until probably getting out of the holidays into the new year at some point, it's going to be down to one video a day. As we get within the main holiday season, sort of like Christmas Eve and that kind of thing, like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and a couple of days afterwards, I probably won't have any videos up at all, just because it's the holidays and I want to spend time with my family. But yes, so from today onwards, you're going to get only one video a day. It's going to probably be Age of Fear, because I want to push on with this game. I really do like the Age of Fear franchise, and because I do post commentary stuff for it, it's a bit easier to record when I'm not feeling fantastic. So that's how it's going to go. We are kicking off with the undead battle, and I apologise if I sound not my usual self. I'm still relatively sick, and this is just the first time I've had the energy to actually get out of bed to record. Right, what we're doing, yeah. Anywho, so yeah, I'm just looking for, at this moment in time, I'm just looking for the I have a list of names that I use. The developers for the game are on it. I tend to put them into my Let's Plays for this just because they were nice enough to provide free copies of their game. I mean, they gave me their entire game franchise for free, which I thought was very nice, and I thought it was the least I could do for them was include them as characters into a campaign where they can get eaten by their own creations, because I'm that kind of a person. Yeah, so if my voice sounds strange today, folks, I can't help it. I'm still not feeling fantastic, and doing half an hour of straight commentary work with a sore throat while still suffering from what feels like the flu is pretty challenging. So if you guys hear any weird noises, it's probably because I'm sucking on a throat lozenge at the moment. So we're naming up the characters here. They all going to get Sergey, Dennis, Trevor, Laszlo, the whole kind of race favourites, I suppose you could say. Race favourites, like tournament favourites that we've had in the past. Some other people will be added. The Fuax will always... The thing is, I don't like making the Fuax in this game like a bog standard unit anymore, because he's too OP. Like, every character I've made, I've called the Fuax has always become OP. So I end up waiting for something obviously impressive, like a zombie dragon or an abomination, or just something to show off my old associate, but my associate's unrivaled overpoweredness at this stage of my association with him. Everything he does becomes absolutely anything he is in the games I play with him, he becomes a monster. Like, I'm playing Wasteland 2 at the moment, which is on my channel, and the Fuax, who's my sniper, is literally just popping heads left, right and centre. He's an absolute monster in that. When I played Battle Brothers, he racked up like 100 kills, and he was an absolute beast, just chopping people's heads off. Necromancers are known. I am feeling your presence, Knight, and some other ancient and underworld being. Sorry, I'm praying. I'll pull out your tongue, you little demon slut. What did you call me? You regret that, bone lover. Yeah, sorry, I'm having problems focusing, so if my commentary isn't as on point as normal, I apologise. Right, so what we got some Sage. The Sage and the Necromancer look like they're going to be the biggest threat. even with their reduced teleportation range, Sage are still very, very dangerous. They have the backstab, which means that they do additional damage. A fully health necromancer with life drain is nasty because he'll be doing double damage of that. He's also got the bone armor, which is very, very nice for the undead characters. It's a hell if you're fighting against it, to be honest. So what we're looking at: scant few enemy units up front as vanguard. The main bulk of their assault force in the back. So probably what we'll do is we'll set it up that our melee units will basically do your typical like pyramid defense formation, which is your typical reversed pyramid or inverted pyramid defense formation, where you have a decreasing line backwards, or staggered defensive formation, I suppose you could call it. We'll send the knight over there to deal with the archers. I find undead archers, like skeleton archers, to be a pain because they'll basically... The AI in this game is relatively smart, and well, the AI in this game is actually really quite good. It thinks tactically, it picks its opponents, and what I have found is that the undead archers will target weakened units, they will target support units, they will kill off the people that you need not to be killed off, like my summoners and my spider. So what I tend to do is I tend to focus fire down the enemy archers, and these are like 1 HP skeletons. These are cannon fodder skeletons, but I don't want them to get in my way later on when the actual meat grinder of battle turns up. It seems that the AI for the Shade is actually relatively good. In some games you'd get it where like stuff like the Shade would literally charge off because they have a large movement range and they can phase through terrain. Here isn't the case, so what they'll probably do is they'll probably stick near the main body of the force until the main force engages, and then they will outflank our units and start assassinating our support. Or they might actually just try and outflank our battle line and break our morale. But we're a demonic force, so our morale is actually relatively decent. Yeah, I was worried at this point that the Sage was going to outflank my hero and start stabbing him, which is not a particularly fantastic thing, so I pulled him back.
My king.
The thing is, though my force is quite powerful, their health isn't fantastic, so I can't afford for them to be taking 2 HP damage this early on in the battle. It's one of the things I find with this game. I mean, you can be uber aggressive in Age of Fear, but you have to be willing to lose units if you want to do that playing style. I'm a lot more cautious. I tend to be a very counter-offensive player, where I will wait for the enemy to launch their attack and then I will counter-attack, all the while softening them up as they approach. I'm not a massively heavily defensive. Some factions in this game play to that better than others, but in my experience, it's better to be a counter-offensive. Most of the factions in this game, outside of stuff like the Orcs, play very well for counter-offensive play. I was considering here if I should launch a firebolt at the zombies or at the skeleton. It all comes down to unit management. The thing is that the imps who use mana ball, it won't have much effect on the skeleton who I need dead, so I'm going to kill him with my main character and have the knights of Percival charge down and start killing one of the Shades. At this moment, my biggest concern for me are the Sage. I don't want the Sage to get behind my lines and start killing off my support units, but at the same time I want to get rid of the enemy like screening units, which are a pain. Got to tie up that skeleton or that zombie with I must admit the spiders are very useful. The ability to actually nullify enemy units is very, very nice.
Yes.
At this moment, I check to see, and then I come to the conclusion that it's not good for my summoner to have gone there. I don't want to have the unfortunate event that the Shade attacks one of my main support units. I don't mind if he goes after the imp. I don't mind if he goes after my hero. Ouch! Is that all you've got? Come again. You have a violent side, Percival. I like that. Right, the Shade is trying to flank. This is when I have to start being careful. The enemy necromancers at full health with life drain are actually surprisingly dangerous. They make very good range sniping units, especially against common line units. So you have to be careful. That 80% hit chance, I always get nervous by that. The amount of times I've literally messed that up.
Fighting back.
What my plan had been was to have charged the necromancer, well, charged the skeleton archer with my knight, but I realised that the necromancer on full health with life drain would be massively dangerous, so I didn't do it. I was hoping at this point that the Shade would go after the lesser terror demon at the bottom and give me some opportunity to eliminate them, because at this moment in time the two things that are the most worrisome for me are the Shade and the necromancer. The zombies are spunsy, but they're no problem, and the abomination is a pain, but we can deal with it. As you can see, my luck of actually hitting stuff where it counts is terrible, because I managed to miss a 90% hit chance. But yeah, the abomination, this is not an upgraded abomination, it's no real threat, but I want that. The necromancer moved up. I don't know why the AI did it. Maybe it was trying to get itself within range for a life drain. I'm not totally sure, but it moved up too close, and I managed to kill off the necromancer. Ah, the bone lover. I mean, the foul mage has fallen. I've become much easier to breathe. But where are you from, Kara? A gentleman doesn't ask a lady of her origins if he wants to keep living. Gotta pop some more summons. I can understand why the developers didn't want to give the summoners full mana at the beginning of a battle, because it'd be quite powerful. Low level summons, I find that, like for example, imps are very useful as barrage units. Just have like a bunch of imps in the back supporting your melee, which is really useful. We lose one of the night terrors, or one of the terrors. Or is it no, it's not terror, it's a horror. I can never remember that unit's name. It's a horror, isn't it? Yeah. We do have less tactical flexibility because a lot of our melee units are berserked, which means that unfortunately they're going to attack before we can order them to do stuff. So you need to be basically very assured that when you chuck berserked units into melee, that they're either going to be able to quickly eliminate the enemy units so you can use them the next turn, or they're not going to. It's one of the things I dislike about Berserk, is that Berserk very quickly limits your tactical ability to operate. We've got one turn left on that imp, which isn't fantastic, because it's going to take us probably 2 more turns before our summoner gets back up in strength. Right. I do like the spider for that. The spider's ability to tie up units is very, very useful. It's one of the reasons that I like the Goblin Netter as well, was the Goblin Netter was very useful for that, but the goblins were very squishy. It was hard to keep the Goblin Netter alive for as long as I did during my Axio campaign. He got done in by a mixture of my poor planning and bad luck. But units like the spiders, the problem that the the Goblin Netter had in the Orc campaign was that he had no like higher form to turn into, so his HP was quite badly capped. Let's get him killed off by the Abomination. He's a summoned unit, so it's not a problem. Tie him up with another net. I mean, this is the thing, Abominations are nasty if you allow them to get into melee, but I don't have any problems with that, so I can just literally just spam range units and shoot into bitch. I send Succubus in to finish him off so she can get a nice XP boost. And there we go, the battle is relatively quickly over.
This shall be a glorious day.
Good tip, if you want to get items that are behind impassable terrain and you don't have the teleportation spell, any range attack will basically do. Magical or just plain range attack. As long as you smash the crate, your character receives the loot that it's inside. So Firebolt is very good for this. Firebolt, lightning, AoE weapon like Fireball, a lot of area effect stuff is very useful for that. It'll be interesting to see actually what happens if rats turned up there, because obviously the rats can't get to us, which is interesting. And there's another chest down there, so I'm going to get probably some Percival to clear stuff up.
To victory! War is coming.
I must admit, my actual sort of like magical item drops in this let's play so far for the Succubus have been relatively poor. I mean, I got the dagger, but the dagger isn't very. I mean, the dagger's an okay magical item. It's not very good.
Awaiting command.
There are much better cursed items to have had, and I'm grateful that the developers nerfed it a bit, because it wasn't that useful, to be honest, as a cursed item. We get more common items and like a scythe, which is a common great weapon. So not a lot of useful stuff, to be honest.
The undead were very tough adversaries, but they were no match for Belcara's fury. She literally fought for her life, for if the guards had heard and believed the madman, it would lead to serious trouble for her. She knew that even with Percival's help, her chances of being safe with all the guards would be slim. Sir Percival was following her commands without even questioning her motives or tactics. She watched him during the fight as he calmly parried enemy strikes and dealt fatal blows in return. His fighting style was much different than that of the barbarians, who merely overpowered their enemies by brute strength. At the end of the fight, bodies littered the ground. She spied the necromancer among them and felt relieved. Her identity was safe for now. Sir Percival approached her.
They are all truly dead now. What do you wish me to do with the bodies, my lady?
First of all, call me Kara from now on. You are very skilled with a sword, Percival. I never realized that mortals could fight so well.
Kara, I am ashamed. I should never have allowed you to fight. I should fight your battles for you.
Don't presume to tell me what you will allow me to do, mortal knight.
She snapped at him.
I have given you the honor of allowing you to call me by my name, but do not think too highly of yourself. Now go and explain to those guards that this madman threatened your barbarian princess and had to die.
As you wish, Lady Kara.
After speaking with Sir Percival, the guards joined in cleaning up the corpses. They spoke softly amongst themselves of the barbarian princess and her ferocious fighting skills. Sir Percival had convinced them of Kara's story, but still, they were amazed at her strength and bravery. After the field was cleared, the wounded were tended to, and the party went to bed for the rest of the night.
And there we go, folks. Onwards and upwards. Ooh, the world map, and there's stuff in the world map. How very nice. That looks like an evil eye. A beholder, that's what they're called. Yeah, I was trying to remember what they in D&D they're called beholders. Absolutely, they're actually one of the original. They're one of the few D&D creations that doesn't come out of folklore. Beholders, I believe, was something that was initially developed by the initial group of people who developed D&D. Here we go, magical focus gems, or mana stones. Smuggler's Holdout. Got a whole lot of XP to spend. I'm holding off because I'm trying to get the next. I'm trying to get regular for her because it's to be honest, it's the best thing that you can get for any unit if it is its next sort of like experience rank. Though I must admit, calling reinforcements looks really nice. That looks actually like a really good ability, but we need to get hero or veteran. Or is it hero and veteran? The berserkers haven't got enough XP. This is the one thing I will say, is that there seems to be a drastic lack of XP on so far for the succubi campaign. Normally I would have had a lot more XP bouncing about, though I suppose we haven't actually had that many battles with this actual army. Yeah, if I think back on it, this is like only our second battle with the barbarians, like with our standard force. This is the thing that throws you, is that we've actually done a couple of battles already, but they were with units that we've lost, so we don't get that boost of experience, which can actually be a bit unnerving, because normally by this point in an Age of Fear storyline or campaign, you've got a relatively okay, if you've played your cards well and been tactical, you've got an okay. You've got middle road units. You've got units that have some XP, but they're not overpowered yet, right? So we've got a whole load of quality armor. I've got to admit, I'm not a fan of the berserker armor. I know it looks really cool, but berserk is one of those abilities which is just massively it's not. The problem with berserk is that it's useful, especially if you're surrounded by loads of units and your guy has multiple attacks. It saves on a lot of like button time, but the inability to pull units out of combat is a massive drawback, because you end up losing units. So most of the time, if I have to promote a unit and one unit has berserk and the other unit, even if the other unit isn't quite as good as the unit that has berserk, I won't do it, because berserk is one of those nullifying factors in Age of Fear where you want to remain in control of your units at all times if you can help it. You really don't want to lose control of your units, especially your frontline combat units. So at this point I decided it's time to upgrade my knight's Percival's gear. I like the swamp mace. Disease is very nice. Disease stacks, and disease has a lot of debuffing abilities. Battle Rage isn't so bad. Iron Mind is nice, but I'm a hero, so it doesn't. I'd forgotten this fact, but heroes aren't affected by any mind control abilities. But even so, the Crystal Shield is nice, +1 defense, +1 HP and magical resistance is actually fairly useful, especially if you're going up against magical units. You also have to remember, we don't have like hypnotism or mind control with this in this faction like we had in the Orcs, so it's gonna get really interesting when we're coming up against. I mean, the Orcs. One of the ways the Orcs actually got around, when I played them anyway, and the way the Orcs beat a lot of their opponents who had like monstrous units that would normally have posed a serious threat, is just that you just hypnotize them. You just hypnotize the monster, send it off into the middle of its own army. Everybody kills it, or even if it does survive, it's going to have less HP than normal, so it's not a massive threat. Or either that, or you just get Fireball. You get a wand of Fireball, which is a rarely, not common, but it always pops up in my Let's Plays. You get a staff of fireball, and you just spam it. You just literally spam fireball and just kill it with fireballs. Or if you're lucky like me, you get a staff that you get the Dark Elf staff that has disintegration, and you just kill it. Like, you just, to be honest, the Dark Elf staff, there's two staffs that you want to get in this game. You want to get the staff of fireball, and you want to get the staff, the Dark Elf staff. Those two staffs. One is like crowd control. It's basically the best crowd control item in the game. The other one is the perfect sniping magical item in the game. Disintegration, if you can get it for a hero, like a hero character like a mage, which is like at the hero or like top level, you just literally steamroller stuff. You just snipe. You don't use it on like elite enemy units. Just use it to kill off monstrous or high priority targets. A raging troll himself could have done a better job raising this windmill. Now it's collapsed on itself. It would be quite a job to rebuild it, but with the right investment, the windmill's blade could spin again. So we can basically give money to help it rebuild. Unfortunately, we don't have any cash on us. I do hope that stays around because that would be interesting. But yeah, 1,500 gold at the beginning of the game is a bit of a big ask.
The warriors cheered for their barbarian princess, but Belcara knew it wouldn't be safe to stay in Wolfholt any longer. Soon enough, rumors would spread, and people would start asking questions that would become difficult to answer. The group began traveling again, as soon as they had packed what they could from their camp. After a few days, they approached a dark forest. At the outskirts of this forest, Sir Percival approached her, with his hand on his sword.
We are being watched, my lady. The men are very nervous. There are many rumors about the ancient creatures who occupy this forest. They are not friendly or benign beings.
Belcara began to cut him off, but before she could interject, some gruesome creatures appeared on both sides of the path, coming from the dark forest. Instincts kicked in for Percival and the barbarians. Percival's sword was already drawn as he headed into the midst of these creatures. The barbarians bellowed their war cry as they too headed into the fray. Belcara's scream pierced through the cacophony of battle cries.
Wait, you idiots! Don't you dare attack before I say so!
The whole scene froze. It was hard to tell who was more surprised, the ancient creatures or the barbarians. Belcara hissed at the forest creatures in some ancient dialect. They hissed back, answering her. Sir Percival watched the communication, confused about what was happening. Belcara's next words surprised him more than anything he had seen or heard so far.
Oh, these poor beings. They are so lonely in this dark and ugly forest.
Her words trailed off as she began hissing in the ancient language again. Their conversation dragged on and on. The barbarians sat, but did not relax, their hands never straying far from their axes. After about an hour, Belcara faced her group and announced,
They will travel with us. Be very careful not to insult these honorable creatures.
If you can't figure it out, these guys are demons. She's basically, you found some demons in the forest, and she's recruited them. So we get beholders, which are evil eyes, and we get hellbats. Beholders are very nice units because they allow you to paralyze. They're basically like an upgraded form of the spiders. Very powerful. They have a lot of very nice abilities. Yeah, magic. They're very good anti-magic units. They also can go incorporeal, which are very nice. I picked in for Vision Up just because there's probably going to be a night mission, and I want some kind of ranged unit that can do work. The Hellbats, I'm not a massive Hellbat fan, to be fair. They never really impressed me that much. It just, the problem is units that don't have an evolutionary path to them, like ones that can't evolve into something more specialised tend to be like okay. I mean, the Goblin Sappers are very good. An example, the Goblin Sappers are very good units, but because they don't evolve beyond Goblin Sappers unless you count the very rare and unique nuclear Goblin Sappers, I prefer to have units that have like an evolutionary chance in the. I don't know. It's at the. It's like. I don't know. I like units that can evolve myself. But this is probably where we're going to end it for the day, ladies and gentlemen. I am looking forward to seeing what we can get done with the Beholders. If you have liked, please press the like button. If you wish to subscribe, please press the subscription button. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Steam if you wish to. You could even comment in the comment section and I'll get back in contact with you. From now on until probably sometime in the new year, it's going to be one episode, like one video a day. You won't have any videos around Christmas time. I have already said this because this is like holiday season for me and I'm busy. But I wish you all the best holiday wishes, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Age of Fear 2, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.